So once again, we're taking a look at our chart of accounts. Is my sales broken down to even further detail?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is, because in this case, I want to keep track of every specific item I sell. So in this case, if I sold medium coffee cups, medium regular coffee cups, then I want to record that. So then maybe I can run a report to tell, well, which coffee cup is most, which one gets sold more often, or how many items did I sell for each one. Okay? So in this case, because I specifically specified right here that I sold right under sales dash medium regular coffee, I want to make sure that I report or put in my journal exactly how it is, how I see it in my chart of accounts. So I have sales for medium regular coffee, sales for large regular coffee, sales for medium supreme coffee, and I have sales large supreme coffee. So all of those have to be typed in there. Okay? Starting with account number 4300. So first thing I'm going to have is my sales for medium okay. I'm just going to list them all out now. Sales large regular coffee. We also have sales medium supreme coffee. And we also have sales large. Okay. And then last thing that Nathan mentioned was that there was sales tax payable. Okay. So I think it was 400, 350, 400, 450, 400, 500. And then what was my sales? My sales discount is 46,000. Okay. And then what is my sales tax payable?
$56.85.
Okay, $56.85. But what about my account number?
Oh, from the chart of accounts. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
hold on.
Where would I find my sales tax payable? What type of an account would that be?
Isn't that a liability?
It is a liability. So in this case,
account number is 27,000.
27,000. Okay. So now let's go ahead and fill this information one at a time. Okay. So how much cash are we going to be receiving from this sales?
$745.94.
Good. Now, question to you. Should that be on the debit side? Am I increasing my cash flow or am I decreasing my cash flow?
You're receiving, so you're increasing.
Good. So it's going to be debited for $745.94. Okay. What about my sales discount? Why is it debited? Why is my sales discount debited?
Because they're getting a credit for the 20% discount.
Okay, good. Because yes, you're getting a credit, right? In this case, you're not charging your customers for the full price. You're giving them a 20% discount. So therefore, it's a contra account to the actual sales account. So in this case, my total amount here is $172.27. Then we need to go down the line on how much each coffee was for. Okay, so how much was my medium regular coffee?
$147.21.
$157.21. Okay. How much was my total large regular coffee?
You sold $209.30.
Good. And then my medium supreme coffee?
$201.69.
And then last but not least, what was the total sales of my large supreme coffee?
$293.16.
Okay. So this is where, all right, this is the end of my journal. It looks like I have everything there. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and equal sum my columns to make sure I didn't make any typos, because I need to make sure that my debits match my credits. So in this case, I have a total of $918.21. $918.21. So in this case, both sides match. Okay. All right. And the note that I want to have here, what should I have here? Grand opening sales. Right? You could even put 20% discount. Right? Good. Now that we finished our journal, what should we do next? Okay, remember, don't forget that very last thing. So what should we do next?
Wouldn't we be going to the ledger next?
Okay. Which account first?
Checking.
Okay, here we are. Checking. I usually put here in store sales. Okay. What journal am I on? Okay. And how much am I increasing my checking account for? So then now my bank account is finally back into the positives for $675.86. Okay, so that's why I like to keep my formula in the debit side. And if we ever go over or go under, I guess in this case, we just blur it out with white font and then just type it into the credit side. But in this case, I want to keep my debit formula in there because look, I did exactly what I did here, right? If I owe $70, right, and I increase my account by $745, now I have a positive $675. Liability? Okay. Here we go, sales tax payable. I normally leave this blank because usually sales tax usually happens in store or in person. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, right? Every day that you encounter your sales in store, it's pretty straightforward as far as the notes. Right? How much are we going to credit my sales tax? Okay, remember you need to be on the credit side. So that's my beginning balance right here is $56.85. Okay, where to next?
Well, since this was money added to the register, wouldn't we have to go record that over in the register?
How do we do that?
You would go to the register, wouldn't you? Find it in, right?
What? Okay, so register. Which one? Check register? The checking ledger?
That's a good question.
What am I supposed to be doing with that extra money that I have in my hands? That's $700.
I'll put it on the revenue, right?
Okay, yes. But right now, is it in my store or is it in my checking account?
It's in the store, so it needs to be recorded in the checking ledger.
That's exactly what we just did. That was the first thing that we did. We record it into the checking ledger.
We need to record the deposit.
You need to record the deposit, right? Because right now, in my books, I said I have the money in my bank account. But do I really have the money in my bank account? No, I need to make an actual deposit to the bank in order for me to have the money in my checking account. So before we keep moving back and forth and flipping through a bunch of pages, let's just focus on the rest of the ledger and post everything to the journal, and then we'll go back and we'll deposit the amount in our checking account. So let's go ahead and go to here. Next thing that we need to do is we need to record our revenues. Okay? And this is one of the reasons why I don't want you guys to keep jumping around, because you'll think about one thing and think about another, that you'll end up forgetting to do something, and then that's where you will find your discrepancies. You'll have holes in your accounts because you just stopped right here and you decided to go to make your deposit right then and there, and then came back and you don't remember what you recorded. Okay, so here we're in my revenues. Okay, all right. Did we sell our regular coffee?
Hi, Justin.
Yes, medium and large coffee. Yes, we did.
Okay, so in this case, right, I'm looking at sales regular coffee and sales medium coffee. Is that the correct account that we used?
What do you mean we're going to use the medium coffee? Because that's what we sold.
Okay, so we're gonna, the very first thing that I have on my account here is sales regular coffee. You just said, no, we're not gonna use this account. Good. Because we are also a wholesaler as well. So we're gonna skip forward to go to medium regular coffee. Okay. How many cups of those medium regular coffees did I sell?
79 cups.
Okay, so 79 cups. You can either just do the number here, or if you want to have it specifically say 79 cups, you could do whatever you like. Okay. What's my reference here?
GJ is, I don't know what, no, I forget what ledger, what number it is. Is it 4?
We're on 6.
6. So the total credits is going to be $157.21.
Mm-hmm. Which is going to be your beginning balance.
Okay. And then we sold 70 large cups. There's 6. Okay. And for $209.30. Then we gotta go back up to Supreme Medium. We saw 81 cups. $201.69. And then we sold 84 large cups.
For how much?
Oh, I'm sorry, $293. I'm sorry, what was it? $293.16.
Good. Anything else we need to put in here?
No.
We got one more account.
Discounts for our, well, we gotta record our sales, our discounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a 20%.
Why did I have that 20%?
Why do you have it?
Mm-hmm. Why did
Is
I?
it,
What?
it wasn't a grand opening special?
Good. Grand opening. 20%. And for what total amount?
$172.27.
Okay. Make sure you're on the debit side because it's a contra account. Okay. So 172.27. Okay. So what do I do next?
Don't we have to record the sales tax?
We already did the sales tax. That was the second thing that we did.
Cost of sales section.
Okay. Well, we still have to do one more thing, which we talked about it just like about a few minutes ago.
We need to record the deposit to the bank.
Correct, right? Let's assume this. So every time we have our grand opening sales or just sales in general, right? That's going to be the end of the day. Now, every time we have sales at the end of the day, I'm going to have you guys just deposit everything all at once. So whether you received any checks from your customers or anything like that, wait till the very end of the day and record the deposit. So in this case, we received our first deposit of $745 and 94 cents. Right? Today's date is going to be the 17th. Right? And because it's the end of the day, that's all the cash that we're going to receive, then that's the amount that I'm going to deposit. Okay? This is the money that I earned from the sale of our coffees. Okay? So then now this money is going to go into our checking account, and now we have a positive $675. Okay? It is important that you do always make your deposits because it's the same thing like in QuickBooks, right? When something happens and we collect money, you need to physically deposit that money to the bank in order for your checking account to even reflect the money that you're supposedly supposed to have.
Yes.
Okay? So there we go.
Sure. No, it's just a network cable.
Okay, so now that we have that, okay. Once again, did we deal with anybody?
You said did we? It doesn't say that we dealt with anybody.
Okay, but in this case, my question is, did we deal with a person in general? So my question is, do we need to use the subsidiary ledger for this transaction right here?
No, we didn't deal with no.
Okay, so your answer's half right. Yes, we did deal with somebody, but no, we don't need to use the subsidiary ledger. That is correct. Now, why is it that I do not use my subsidiary ledger when I did actually sell to customers?
Because the customers are not vendors, so you just, why would you record that you sold something to customers? The customers are just the customers. They're not vendors or anything like that. So
Okay, you're right. Your vendors are not your customers, but in this case, they're still customers, right? Who bought these things from you?
So this transaction happened, it's not account receivable.
It's not accounts receivable. Good. We did sell to people, but in this case, we don't know who they are. And if we don't know who they are, we don't care to keep track of them because this is just a regular in-store sales. If someone came up to us and said, "Hey, I want to buy this on an account," then that's where we're like, okay, they want to owe us money. So we need to do our duties to keep track of them. Okay, so in this case, we just sold to a random general public. Right? So therefore, good. No customers need to be used. So subsidiary ledger does not need to be used. Okay. All right, so the next thing that I have here is that for making the coffee to sell all of those amounts, we used in store regular coffee. We used 10 pounds, and for Supreme coffee, we used 15.5 pounds. Okay. Now, why are we only using the coffee here? Why are we keeping track of our coffee?
because the coffee is inventory.
What kind of inventory? Why do we need to keep track of regular and Supreme coffee? What kind of inventory is it?
I want to say weighted average.
Okay, not costing method. What tracking method?
perpetual.
It's perpetual inventory. That's why we need to keep track of it all the time. So in this case, this is where we need to do our, we need to take out from our inventory. Okay. Now, which account is going to reflect me taking this inventory out?
Would it be assets?
We are taking it out from the regular, okay, from our assets, yes. Now, in this case, if we're decreasing our assets, is that going to be on the debit or the credit side?
Credit.
It'd be credited. Good. So in this case, right, we're going to be taking it out from our account, right? We're going to be taking it out specifically from our regular coffee account and taking it out from our Supreme Coffee account. Okay. Which should be 12,020, 12,040. Okay. Now, which account am I going to represent that I sold the items? Or in this case, I have to use my calculating costing method, right? So how do I calculate the cost it took me to sell this item? Okay, go back to chapter 7 and 8, or specifically chapter 7. How do I journalize that I sold something, but I'm not calculating what I sold it at selling price? I need to calculate how much it cost me to sell those items.
The cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold. So in this case, do I have a specific cost of goods sold account?
Yes, one for regular and one for Supreme.
Okay, excellent. So here, right, cost of goods sold, regular coffee. And then we got cost of goods sold, Supreme coffee. All right, let's go back and check out what those accounts are. 550 and 500, 100. Okay. Okay, and then I guess the note here could be your in-store use. Okay. Now, how do I figure that number out? How do I know how much I sold and how much it cost me?
Do we go into our inventory worksheet?
Excellent. Inventory worksheet, right? Because that's where we're going to be calculating our cost of the inventory. Because in this case, right, we got two different types of inventories, right? Or costing methods, right? One is for moving average, Okay, and one is for FIFO. Okay, so in this case, let's go ahead and do one at a time. So let's go and focus on our first one, which is our regular coffee, which is our moving average. Okay, so the date, all right, how many pounds did I sell or use in this case?
10 pounds.
We used 10 pounds, okay? At what cost per item is my current inventory? How much is it going to cost me to sell each pound of regular coffee?
$1.80.
$1.80? I think you're on the wrong one.
Is that the $1.36?
$1.36. Where do you see 36? Not 136 because that's what we purchased it for.
Oh, $1.60 on the section.
$1.60 is correct because in this case, we want to make sure that the customers pay for the shipping and everything for them to get their coffee, right? So it's going to be $1.60. All right? Now, multiply them together. So this is where if you're using Excel, I'm going to make this so then we keep it consistent. Okay. So how much is my total cost of goods sold?
160.
Times 10?
Oh, wait. $160?
Times 10?
Oh,
One,
okay.
one.
That's 160 is going to be my cost per item.
Oh, 16.
16. Good job. There you go. All right, it's going to cost me $16. Okay? Which I've already incurred the cost because I've already purchased it. So in this case, I need to update my inventory. Now, whether you guys use the middle section to validate or whatever that you want to do, I'm just going to go ahead and put it straight into my inventory on hand. Right? So in this case, I'm going to do my calculations here, right? I had 125 items minus 10 pounds. How much should I have left now?
115.
115. Good. Now for my total cost, if I started with $200 and I sold 16, how much should I have left in my total?
184.
184. Actually, in this case, I think I added.
Should be 85, right? Oh,
Nope, 184. Okay. I'm going to highlight this because I cell reference, so I can't delete that. I have to keep it there. So I'm just going to block it out. Okay. So now I have 115 pounds left, costing a total of $184. And I have that I sold 16 pounds. Or in this case, I used $16. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and move into my Supreme coffee here. Okay. How many pounds of the Supreme coffee did I use?
15.5 or 0, 15 and a half pounds.
Okay, 15 and a half. At what cost per unit is each pound for my Supreme coffee? In this case, I'm using FIFO, so I need to make sure that I keep in order of the exact order that I purchased my items in. In this case, I've only made one purchase so far.
$1.80.
It's going to be $1.80. So, how much is my total cost of goods sold?
$27.90.
$27.90. Good. So here, this is where you have a choice. Okay. You could either edit your quantity, or if you'd like, what a lot of students have done too is they want to keep their formula consistent. You can choose to just edit the quantity and edit the total cost. But remember, your cost per item will not change. It will always stay at $1.80. Okay. So that's one way that you could do it, or you could just simply, since I have my formula in my total cost anyways, I can just type in, right, 125 minus my 15.5, right, and it should give me 197.10, which is correct, right?
Mhm.
You take your 225 minus the $27.90, you should get 197.10. Okay. Good. So here we have it. We have the cost of goods sold for our regular coffee for $16 and a cost of goods sold for my Supreme coffee for $27.90. So let's go ahead and add that to my journal.
Here.
Okay. So what should we do next? Now that we finished our journal,
We go ahead to the next day, wouldn't we?
we still gotta update our ledger. We need to update our ledger to reflect that in my inventory that I have these amounts.
Then that's updated in the general ledger. Am I correct?
Correct. So in this case, I have a cost of goods sold. Right? Cost of goods sold for my regular coffee. Okay. In this case, I used 10 pounds. for a total of
$16.
$16. Good. So that's going to give you your beginning balance of $16. We're going to go down to my cost of goods sold for Supreme Coffee. Right. I used what was it, 15.5 pounds.
$27.90.
Okay. Now I have to physically update my inventory. Okay. So I'm going to go find my inventory account. Okay, so my regular coffee, here it is. Right. I'm going to make a note here that I used 10 pounds. Right. In this case, I'm going to credit my account for $16. So therefore, I should have a total balance in my regular coffee to be 184. And you know what that matches? Where do you see this 184?
In your inventory worksheet.
In your
Okay.
image. Correct. So in this case, now I have another extra reference point to make sure that I'm doing my accounting correctly, right? Because in my inventory worksheet, I was calculating how much I sold and how much I need to get rid of and what my ending balance should be at all times. So in this case, this is your second checkpoint for you to make sure that you did your accounting correctly and that you calculated your inventory correctly and that you didn't make any typos. So there you go. I put credit for 16, so it should be giving me 184 as my total balance in my regular coffee. Okay. Let's also go down to our Supreme Coffee because we end up using 15.5 pounds. Okay. What was my total? What was my credit here?
$27.90.
$27.90, which does in fact give me a total balance of $197.10, which we calculated in our inventory worksheet. Now we are completely done with this transaction.
So just to follow the worksheets we went through. We went through general journal first,
Mm-hmm.
then we went to um, inventory,
Mm-hmm.
and and then we went to the general ledger. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss a page? Okay.
Mm-mm. Okay. Okay. So same day, but this time, what happened here?
We received a delivery of coffee from Atlas Coffee Imports.
Yes, we did. So how do I journalize this?
You will itemize the coffee that was delivered. So the 20 pounds of regular coffee at the 136 per pound, a total of $170.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay. So in this case, I'm going to take a quick shortcut that I'm going to show you guys right here is that I've already done this journal before, or I've done something similar. So what I can do is I can go ahead and find that transaction, and I'm going to copy the cells because I know these are the exact accounts that I will be using. And I'm going to go ahead and go back down to my worksheet and paste it down here. But of course, I have a few modifications. So first things here, right? How much regular coffee did I receive in total cost?
$170.
170. Those are my supreme coffee.
196.25.
Okay. Which should give you a total of 160 or 366.25.
Yes.
Good. Which in this case we are not going to pay now. We're going to pay later. Okay.
Cash on delivery, right?
Yes, cash on delivery. What invoice number was this one?
320.
320. 1% 15. Net 30 is still the same.
So wait a minute, didn't they just say that it was cash on delivery?
Yes, what's the next thing that happened?
No, the pay should be taken, right? With the check.
Yes. But what does the next scenario say?
That's
Wait a
the
minute,
price. Okay, no worries.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
If it's cash on delivery, then how is the 1% 15 um, net 30 apply if it's cash on delivery? If it's received, then if it's cash on delivery, you pay it when you receive it.
Well, in this case, this is two separate transactions. The first one's from Atlas Coffee. The second one's from a different company.
Okay.
But Nathan is saying, well, the coffee was delivered Therefore, we have to incur a freight expense separately.
Okay. Wait a minute. Why isn't the freight expense included in the total cost?
It will be, but this is two separate transactions.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have Atlas, and then we have a third-party vendor called Freightline. Can you combine two different transactions in one? Technically, yes, you can. But in this case, I want you to keep them separate. So you know exactly what's going on.
So for that debt, you still would have to put Freightline as the vendor, correct?
In the second one, yes. But right now I'm focusing on the very first one, which is just receiving my coffee. Now, if you want to, because you know that these two are linked to each other, then yes, you could go ahead and do Freightline as well. Since you know these two transactions are related to each other.
Right, because wouldn't you kind of be going back and forth when it's just all one transaction that happened on June 18th?
Well, technically, no. This is two separate transactions because you're dealing with two different companies. How can you treat this two transactions as one? They're related, yes, they are, because they're dealing with the same item, but they're two separate transactions because you're dealing with two different people. Can you treat it as one person?
No, if they're two different vendors, they're just two different vendors. But in terms of, so Freightline delivered it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, and so, but they have we're paying on COD, they're $64.50
Yes.
for the delivery,
Right.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the coffee and Atlas Coffee is the one that's letting us pay on terms,
Yes.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you saying we can treat it as one transaction?
You can, but that's just more like advanced level of accounting. You just have to make sure that you are very, very careful in making sure that you add all the details into that transaction. But in this case, you guys are all beginners. I want you to keep this transaction separate. I want you to do everything one step at a time. I want you to treat this as two transactions because it's two different people. One of them, you get terms, and the other one, you have to pay a check to. So that's why I want you to keep it separate in terms of journalizing it because it is two separate transactions. But yes, you can add this as one transaction, but that's just more advanced level of accounting. And I'd rather have you learn it this way where you're separating each transaction so you understand who are you dealing with first and then who are you dealing with the next after. So that's why I keep it separate. Now, what I said here is that you can do both of this at the same time because they are related to the same item. Okay, so the very first one, we dealt with our coffee, right?
Yes.
Now the next one is we got to deal with our freight. Would you like to do one at a time or would you like to do both of them at the same time?
So that's kind of where I was kind of going with that. Like, oh, we would just go ahead now and put in the information for our freight costs.
I didn't do that. I only laid down my foundation, but I didn't touch that account whatsoever. Because like Nathan said that we do have to pay for freight on COD, which that's exactly what I have displayed on my screen, which is correct. But my question is, do you want to do both of them at the same time, or do you want to do one at a time so we don't get confused or, miss an account?
I got you.
Mm-hmm. So, executive decision, guys, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to do both transactions at the same time, or you want to do one at a time?
I would like to go at the same time, but can we change the date from the June 17th to the 18th?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, because I don't want to confuse myself when I rewatch this video.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So here we received our coffee and we have delivery charges, right? So now that we have completed our very first transaction here, right? We entered in that we received the coffee for a total of $366.25. We know that this is invoice 320, and the terms are identical, okay? So that transaction is complete. Now the next transaction we have here is that we had to pay for, we had to pay for the shipping completely separate. However, it's still going to go into the same inventory account, which is the coffee, the regular coffee, and the supreme coffee, right? Just like what we did previously, right? Now in this case, right, my total cost here is how much? How much am I going to be writing this check out for?
The $366.25.
That was the previous transaction. I'm on the second one now. How much is my check going to be written out for? To pay for the shipping cost to deliver the coffee to my store.
Oh, you mean everything including the shipping?
No, because the first one that we just did was given terms. I'm not going to pay it right now.
Okay, well then ask the question again.
For the shipping cost. Since it's
$64.
so there you go, right? Because we are paying the shipping cost with COD, we are obligated to pay with cash. In the very first one, did I mention that we're going to pay this?
No, not for Atlas Coffee Imports. No.
Good. So therefore, the only person I'm paying now is just the freight line because they are cash on delivery. No, if we want our coffee, we have to pay them. So in this case, I wrote right here, we're going to use a check. Okay? So we have a total of $64.50. How much of that amount is going to go to my regular coffee and how much is going to go to my supreme coffee?
Well, it's not itemized like that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do we have to figure out that number because it's not itemized like that?
Correct. But in this case,
It's not broken down like that. No.
so in this case, how would I split it? The shipping.
We can do 50-50, right?
Yes, we can because most shipping, if not all shipping, is based on weight, right?
Right.
So in this case, how many pounds of coffee did I buy of each kind?
125 pounds.
Exactly. So in this case, I can split it 50-50.
So $32.75 a piece.
32.25. Because it's $64.50.
Okay.
Right? Who? Okay, so now that I wrote a check, right? It says I use a check to pay for this.
So you just make your note that you pay. You paid for shipping on COD $64.50. Yeah.
Yes, good. So I have Freightline, right? That's the person I wrote the check out to.
Mhm.
This was invoice number 516. You said COD. What's the last piece of detail that I can link this to make this transaction even more valid? Or to have at least a reference point? I used a check, right?
Check number.
I need to get a check number. So in this case, how do I make a check? How do I get the check number?
Go to check register.
I
See what letter number.
correct. Because in this case, I need to make sure that when I cut this check, it's gonna go to them. So in this case, right, it is now the 18. Okay, we use check number 1518 for what total amount?
For 50.
To who?
Freight lane.
Freightline. So I have my check here, number 1516, which definitely should go in your general journal so you can have a reference point here saying that this transaction has happened because I wrote check number 1518. Not only does this validate my actual transaction, it gives me a perfect paper trail of how this transaction happened and how it got paid. All right, so what should we do next?
Well, we need to record the check. We just wrote a check, right? So we need to record that we wrote a check, correct?
We just did that. We just went to our check register.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Okay.
Now we go to our general ledger, correct?
You can do that. Okay. So general ledger. So I'm already on my regular and supreme coffee. So it's now the 18. Right. First transaction I have here is I purchased 125 pounds of coffee. Still in General Journal 6. And I'm going to debit my account for how much? How much did 125 pounds of regular coffee cost me?
$170.
170. Right? Then, right, since we're already here in our journal and we're going to do two transactions at once because they're related to each other, I'm going to go ahead and insert my freight cost, right? Which was $32.25. So therefore, I should have a total of $386.25 in my regular coffee.
Isn't it the freight supposed to be credit?
Why would it be credit?
Because you paid it already on COD.
But I paid it. I already used the credit. Right? I had to decrease my checking account in order to pay for shipping.
Okay.
And in this case, shipping, right, is going to be included in the total cost of inventory. So that means I need to increase my inventory because I'm adding it to the total cost of my inventory.
Yeah, I get it.
Got it. So now we would need to go over to inventory and increase it, correct?
Where? Because right now we're currently on the ledger.
Right. We need to go over to our inventory journal, correct?
Well, okay, so now you want to jump around. Okay?
Well, no, I don't. I'm just asking.
Yes.
Look at the question.
We do need to go to our inventory worksheet. Exactly.
Okay. But before we do that, we have to record the supreme.
Okay? Let's go ahead and record the supreme. Okay, so supreme 618.
125 pounds was purchased
Mm-hmm.
at 196.25. Freight cost was 32.25.
So therefore, I should have a total $425.60 in my supreme coffee.
So we would be done with that with the journal ledger, correct?
Nope. We still got two
No?
more accounts to update.
In the ledger?
Mm-hmm.
We have account payable.
We have an accounts payable.
Well, I know accounts payable, but you said two more.
That's one of them. So in this case, what is the detail I'm going to write into my accounts payable? What's the note that I'm going to put here?
Invoice 516.
Not 516.
Oh, so we wouldn't use the freight invoice?
Did I use accounts payable to pay for my freight?
You spent cash,
Right.
correct?
What did I use
So
accounts payable for?
some money that you owe out.
Who do I owe?
You owe Atlas Coffee Import, so it'd be invoice 320.
Good. All right. Journal number 6. Now, since we're increasing our liability, how much do we owe?
That would be the 366.25.
Okay. So what's my grand total that I owe?
I got 366,265.
Good. So then what's my last account that I used?
Checking.
Checking. Good, because I wrote a check. I need to make sure that I have enough money in my bank account to keep writing my more checks. Because if I keep writing, and I don't keep track of it, I'm going to just get a bunch of NSF checks because I'm not keeping good track of my bank account. So there you go. I wrote check number
1518.
1518 for a total of,
6450.
okay. So then now that brings my bank account balance down to $611 and 36 cents. Now we're completely done with our ledger account because we went through every single account that we wrote in our journal. Okay? So whatever you write in your journal, you have to post it to your ledger. Exactly how you see it in your journal is exactly how you're going to post it to your ledger. There are 3 more things left.
One is to update the inventory worksheet.
Okay. All right, starting off with regular coffee. All right, we're going to skip this section for the cost of goods sold because we end up getting purchases, right? So in this case, when I bought my coffee, how much did it cost me per item?
$1.36 per pound.
That brings my total purchase.
170,
Right? My freight,
32.25,
bring my total cost to be.
202.25.
Good. So now we must update our inventory. If I have 115 and I added 125 pounds, how many pounds do I have?
240.
240. Good. Same thing on this side, right? If I have a beginning balance of 184 and I add 202.25, what's my total here?
Through 386.25.
All right. And where do we know this number?
From the balance in our ledger.
Correct. Okay. So then that brings my my cost per item to reflect 1.60938. Right? So this is where we're going to be practicing not rounding that number just yet. We're not going to round to $1.61. We're going to keep it at the unrounded number because we're selling or we're using pounds and we're using in increments of like larger increments. Okay? It's not like we're using 1 pound or selling 1 pound at a time. That way, that penny wouldn't matter. But if you're selling large quantities or using large quantities, you definitely want to not round this number because you could hurt your company at the end of the day. All right. So here we have our new updated inventory for 240 pounds at $386.25. So then now we need to update our Supreme coffee. Okay. Same thing here, 718. We purchased 125 pounds at $1.57. So my total purchase is
$196.25
okay.
plus 32.25 freight is $228.50.
$228.50. Now, what costing method am I using for my Supreme coffee? FIFO. So therefore, I'm not combining this into my my batch here. I'm going to keep it as a separate batch. So in this case, it's up to you if you want to figure out your cost per item here. I think it's, yeah. Okay. And because now we have a second batch of inventory, I have to keep it separate because I'm using the first in, first out method. Okay. So I just copied the information over into my inventory on hand. Okay, so here, what I like to do on the side is I actually put my running balance on the side. Now you could do that in the bottom of the cell if you'd like to. It's just I like to put it on the side so it's easier to see instead of having to scroll all the way down or all the way up. So in this case, I'm going to put my running balance saying that I should have a total cost of $425.60, which we know to be true because that's exactly what our Supreme Coffee General Ledger says. It says that we have a total of $425.60 worth of inventory, of Supreme Coffee inventory. Okay, so now that we updated our inventory worksheet, we're finished with our journal, we're finished with our ledger. We have 2 more things to do.
Go to subsidiary account.
We need to go to our subsidiary account because now we need to keep track that we owe this vendor money. Okay, so in this case, first person we're going to take a look at is going to be under vendors is my Atlas Coffee. Okay, so here's Atlas Coffee. How do I fill it out?
Same thing what we did on the first transaction.
Right? That we purchased 125 regular pounds and 125 supreme pounds. Okay, good. Invoice number.
$320.
Okay. What were my terms?
We have the same term.
We have the same terms of a 1%, 15, net 30. So, therefore, what is going to be my discount due date?
July.
3rd of July. What is going to be my actual due date?
July 18.
July 18. And what was my total amount invoiced for?
$366.25.
366.25. Now, if you have this formula up here, you should be able to drag it down. So here, I didn't make any payments. So therefore, I owe an additional $366.25 to Atlas Coffee, which gives me a grand total that I owe Atlas Coffee, a total of $728.75 in grand total. Okay. Good. Okay. I also have to update Freightline just in case I need to return some of the coffees or in case I never actually received my coffee, right? I can report them. So again, shipping costs for 250 pounds of coffee. Okay. I used, okay, hold on. I guess I can't do that. I have to. because I didn't write check number 1512. I wrote 1518. Okay. What was the invoice number?
516.
516. Good. 516. All right. General journal once again. Number 6. Oops. Okay. Obviously, terms are going to be COD. I think, I don't know why I didn't put that in there. COD. Okay. Which was a total of
6450.
and I also made a payment for $64.50 with a check number 1518. So not only does this prove that I paid them, so they don't come back at me saying, "Hey, you didn't make a payment." Yes, I did. It's check number 1518. Okay. Or if there's any discrepancies between you and this third-party shipping person. Okay. So therefore, you should have a zero balance because you don't owe this freight line anything because you paid them at time of delivery. Okay. Last but not least, what do you need to do? Okay. Okay. How do I know I received this coffee?
Oh, you want to go to your purchase orders and put in the invoice number.
Yes, right? We need to say that, yes, I received this order because I ordered coffee and I received it. That's the most important, one of the most important things that you need to do, because if you're purchasing a bunch of stuff, right, and then one day you show up and at your store, all of a sudden a bunch of things are coming in and you're not ready for it and you don't know what's going on. Well, that's exactly why you need to keep track of it, so you're pending and you know that you have something coming to your store. So in this case, right here, our only one that we have for this 366.25 is right here. So we do have this invoice for invoice number 320. Okay. So there we go. We received our coffee that we ordered on the 15th of June. And this is exactly where we're going to leave off for after the break, okay? So there we have it. We completed our transaction all the way. Okay. So we're going to stop here and call break. So let's see.